Yo, my name is Aries. If you don't know me, if you do, welcome back. But I ain't gonna lie, got me some food. Part two, 30 minutes in. Let's get to it.
Killed in March 2012, Trap City and Chris World would immediately become one of their targets for revenge. Regardless of who may have been behind the murder, J Boogie and other Chris World members were now in an active war with TYMB, together with Trap City and also Drill City, or 06679 as they would call themselves collectively, based on their respective streets on the 66th, 67th, and 79th streets. TYMB's revenge for the murder of Obama would allegedly come in August 2012 when Trap City member Scooter, real name Johnny Howell, was gunned down in Trap City's hood. Needless to say that going into 2013, the war between TYMB and the 06679 was getting increasingly heated, with TYMB members even making custom shirts where they would exclusively diss these three sets. TYMB would also diss them heavily on the music side, with Money Man releasing a music video in April 2013 with none other than Prince Dre from O-Block, where Prince Dre would shout out Lil Chris while paying tribute to what he called Chris Way, before Money Man would go in dropping a very disrespectful verse dissing Drill City, including their rapper Fat Smack, as well as rapper Tank Montana, who had been part of the Mix Mob, Drill City, and the Bloodhounds, and would later change his name to Bloodhound Hothead. Money Man would also essentially admit to TYMB killing Scooter from Trap City before also dissing Chris World. A few months later in June, and the Bloodhounds, and would, as well as rapper Tank Montana, who had been part of the Mix Mob, Drill City, and the Bloodhounds, and would later change his name to Bloodhound Hothead. Money Man would also essentially admit to TYMB killing Scooter from Trap City before also dissing Chris World. A few months later in June, B Gutter would also re-release the song 067K Diss, this time with a music video where he can be seen driving around Trap City's hood. Unfortunately, things weren't about to just stay online, and only a few months later, in August 2013, 06679 would lose another important member, none other than Kenny Mack from Chris World, real name Kenneth Barber, the very person rumored to have been behind the murder of Obama. A few days later, a photojournalist would capture the scene where Kenny had been killed and where his friends had left him a memorial, with one of the images capturing the tribute messages left for him by his friends, one of these messages saying simply, "R.I.P. Kenny, CWBAS, YMCPDK, F Obama." However, unlike so many murders in Chicago, this one would ultimately be solved, as the law enforcement would eventually charge a man named Anthony Bradley, also known in the streets as Capone from Dro City, more specifically a faction called Snowblock, which were affiliated with TYMB. Capone would end up receiving a massive 55-year sentence, but would eventually be granted a retrial where he would seemingly end up receiving a much shorter 20-year sentence, for which he would end up serving about half, and he's seemingly been released on parole. The killing of Kenny would hit Chris World hard, and the members such as J Boogie have continued keeping his memory alive throughout the years. But the death of Kenny wouldn't only affect the older guys already heavily in the streets, because Lil Jeff himself, who was only 11 years old at the time, would later tell during an Instagram live how he would witness Kenny's murder firsthand, even admitting that this had likely messed his head up.
Don't drink it.
Hey, Jug, on my dead grandma phone. You alive?
I damn near shared in a telephone. That shit hurt me a little bit. I was like, dang, it's real. Long live Kenny Mack. I was there. I witnessed that. We was about a lake. I think ever since then I've been f***ed up. That's probably what it was. I feel like they clapped my homie.
Perhaps this was truly the first of many life-altering experiences that would affect a young Lil Jeff, that would ultimately eventually push him towards the life of violence that would end up costing him his life. But 2013 would also mark a moment when the Chris World members, including J Boogie, would end up getting heavily involved in the drill music scene, likely influencing Jeff to do the very same thing, as well as seemingly starting a new clique, a clique that Jeff would also eventually end up joining years later. That clique would of course be the Bloodhounds. Going into 2013, the Chicago drill music scene was reaching its peak, propelled by the immense popularity of Chief Keef. But while other up-and-coming drill artists were largely keeping the similar dark and violent themes that had made the genre popular, both lyrically and sonically, Chief Keef himself, who was now living the good life in the rich suburbs just outside of Chicago, and surrounded by all the lean and loud he could possibly consume, would quickly begin to experiment with his sound, cranking his auto-tune settings to the max, while beginning to add much more melodic elements to his rapping, combined with an often heavy slurring, likely at least partially caused by his increasing consumption of that prescription cough suppressant. Keef would also largely ditch his day one producers during this period, instead accepting beat submissions from random YouTube and SoundCloud producers, many of whom had taken the more upbeat elements from Keef's earlier projects, particularly his debut album Finally Rich, but turning those elements up tenfold. These beats were much more influenced by the late 2000s and early 2010s Atlanta rap and trap music, with artists and groups such as Roscoe Dash, Travis Porter, Young LA, and J Money, as well as of course Future, with inspiration also being taken from prolific producers from the area like DJ Spins, London on
If somebody knows what's up with this or what happened, can y'all let me know in the comments, please?
The track and KE on the track, but with a new twist, these beats eventually got the label of futuristic beats amongst fans. While at the time, this era of Chief Keef was extremely criticized by mainstream rap fans, it's now largely considered perhaps his most influential era, playing a large role in making him one of the contenders for the most influential rapper of the 2010s, with this era that his fans tend to call the Lean era, together with what would eventually evolve around 2014 into an equally fantastically named era, the Zan era, arguably largely birthing what would become known as mumble rap, as well as playing an enormous role in influencing the flows, rapping styles, and beat choices of later popular artists like Lil Uzi Vert, Playboi Carti, Kodak Black, and countless others. But the reason why Chief Keef's 2013 era is so important to mention here is because by late 2013 and going into 2014 and 2015, the members of Chris World would also end up getting heavily involved in the buzzing Chicago music scene. But unlike the majority of rappers coming out of Chicago at this time, they would attempt to build heavily on this new sound that Chief Keef was creating, even using the same YouTube and SoundCloud producers such as Intel on the beat, who was one of the producers behind Chief Keef's classic that perhaps best describes the Lean era, the song Love No Thotties. Another producer who was getting commissioned a lot during this period was the French beat phenom Cash Money AP, who produced numerous songs for Keef and other GBE members during this time. Phenom Cash Money AP.
I did not know that's what Cash Money AP looked like. After this entire time, this whole decade, I had no idea what he looked like.
Who produced numerous songs for Keef and other GBE members during this time. Chris World would do this under the name Finesse Crew, which the Chris World rapper Saw J would present in his solo song titled after the group in September 2013. In the music video, we can see many key members of Chris World, including the main people of the Finesse Crew, including of course Saw J himself, as well as members of Chris World, including the main people of the Finesse Crew, including of course Saw J himself, as well as Chief 2 Times, Smooth, Bad Habit, now going by BH, and J Boogie, who incredibly at this point was still only 15 years old. J Boogie would eventually not only appear in these videos, but also participate in the rapping, such as the song BAS, released with a music video in May 2014, and a music video for Finesse Party, which was released in November 2014. J Boogie would release early solo songs, such as his 2014 remix of Bobby Shmurda's Hot N-Word, but for whatever reason, these songs have been now wiped off the internet. Despite most of Finesse Crew's songs being pretty upbeat party anthems, they would also keep rapping their gang sets in their music videos, including in the banger titled Forever Mac and Chris, which was released in June 2015, as well as being seen dropping Wise for TYMB. However, TYMB was taking the dissing once again to another level, as Money Man would release his remix of Lil Durk's Competition, titled No Competition, in July 2014. Once again, he would get straight to the point, beginning the song by dissing Scooter and Rio, as well as Kenny Mac and Chris World. He would then begin his verse by saying how he blew someone's brain back on the 67th before aiming his diss directly at J Boogie, saying that he better cool, and asking how is he even Chris World when he didn't even know Chris personally, as he had seemingly stayed flipside in 2010 when Chris was killed. Whether or not J Boogie actually knew Chris personally is unclear though, as Boogie himself has seemingly indicated that he did in fact know him, and that he has stayed on 67th since he was a young boy. Money Man would also diss Drill City and several other members from 06679 and their affiliated sets, such as Lil Ricky from Chris World and Lil Ant from Mix Mob, who was killed in 2013. Perhaps as a response to this song, Finesse Crew would eventually end up making their own dedicated diss track, released with a music video in May 2015. This song was called simply War, and the beat was a much more standard dark drill anthem. In the song, the Finesse Crew rappers go back and forth, spitting bars whilst dissing their ops, particularly TYMB, with Boogie also taking part in the rapping, saying that he's the youngest running things, being now 17 years old, before telling how he's driving through the ops hood with big clips while dropping Wise with both hands. This music video would also have a major cameo from a rapper who was making a lot of noise around this time, having become known a few years earlier for being one of the best friends of a true Chicago drill legend, L.A. Capone. This rapper was JB Bin Laden, who is the first person to appear in the video, he too dropping Wise with both hands. But this was not in fact the first time that JB had made an appearance on a Finesse Crew video, as already in December 2014, he can be seen in their music video for the song Kickstand Lean Boys, together with none other than Boss Top from O Block, with this possibly reflecting how O Block had now fallen out with TYMB too. JB is from a BD set called 400 East or 400E, which is directly on the other side of the Interstate 90 from Trap City, and Chris World, with their main block block being on the 71st and King Drive. Due to JB's close relationship with LA Capone, and LA even allegedly living on 400 East Hood with JB for a period of time, the set would even take on the name LA Gang in his honor following his death. But it seems that JB had a particularly strong bond with J Boogie, as he would often post and shout him out on social media.
Bow! Smoke your ass like a blue cigarette, a blue one. Bow!
However, not everyone was happy about people outside of 600 paying tribute to LA Capone, and 600 member Blast His Ass, aka Blastum, would in fact call out J Boogie and Chief 2 Times, aka Vontae, for throwing the LA hand sign on social media. But anyway, Chris World and also members like JB from 400 East were still also close with 0679, aka Trap City, and the Drill City Alliance. And particularly, they were hanging out with members like CJ from Drill City. Meanwhile, it appears that in Drill City's hood, a new clique was forming, where guys like CJ were heavily involved in, with the earliest mention about the name seemingly going all the way back to the early 2010s. This clique, of course, being the Bloodhounds. It appears that they were particularly influenced by the early Glory Boys rappers, like pretty much all of Chicago at that point, and would often quote on social media lyrics from rappers like Lil Reese and Gino Marley mentioning how they were like Bloodhounds. Towards the end of 2015, CJ would even begin to tease what appeared to be a music project titled Bloodhound Savages. Going into 2016, CJ, J Boogie, and JB were seemingly still spending a lot of time together. Also, members from other sets were beginning to claim the Bloodhound clique, such as the members from the MTV 079 set.
Yeah, you see them bandanas, that mean we Bloodhound.
Yeah.
Ride through with your flag out.
Got the mask on, get your car flipped over.
Video, he just looking at us, bro.
Bloodhound.
Yeah.
Are we Bloodhound on Vernon too?
As mentioned in an earlier chapter, MTV 079 is a brain-dead BD set that has had a long-running beef with the same sets as Drill City and Trap City, namely the historical majority GD sets from Lon City, Evans Mob, A-Tray Mob, and Hit Squad. However, MTV's relationship with Drill City and Trap City was a complicated one, as they had seemingly until recently been also cool with the other brain-dead BD set that these two were beefing with, called Wiz City. This being likely another example of just how quickly the alliances and beefs were evolving in the area. But in any case, soon the Bloodhound clique was beginning to drop music, just like CJ had teased in late 2015, as in May 2016, they would drop a new song called Vicious, featuring the rappers MTV Cash from MTV 079, Hothead from Drill City, formerly Tank Montana from Mix Mob, and Drezzy Bands from Drill City, and in the chorus, labeling themselves as the Bloodhound villains. Some months later, in October 2016, Hothead would drop a song with a music video titled simply Bloodhound, where he warns his ops that if they're on any type of BS, they're going to die, and that he's a bloodhound and he wants his money dirty, like blood money. Around this time, J Boogie was now also repping the Bloodhound crew commonly on his social media, and going into 2017, the clique was beginning to gain increasing momentum, culminating in their biggest song at that point, the song Bloodhounds, released with a music video in April, which at the time was the song featuring the most Bloodhound-affiliated rappers, including CJ from Drill City, JB Bin Laden from 400 East, Hothead from Drill City, and MTV Chino and MTV Cash from MTV 079. The song is a pure Bloodhound anthem, mixed in with a very dark drill beat, with CJ beginning the song by rapping how the Bloodhounds are making noise in the streets and that he's not talking about the music. JB comes in by also repping Bloodhound from the start, followed by Hothead, who raps how the ops know that the Bloodhounds are the ones sending shots and the killing won't stop. MTV Chino then begins his verse with a much more pointed diss aimed likely at
It's gonna sound terrible to say, but if all of the hoods in Chicago had like a battle royale, who I think would win? Like, I just not like who out of all of them collectively as a group, which is like that the most, because that's one thing I don't know. Normally, whenever you hear about stuff like that, of course, it's gangs doing what they do, but it's normally around like 2 to 3 people that's really doing it. But I want to know who got the most collective. That's all putting in the most, or was all putting in the most work. Like, I'm curious, because I don't
mob or the
like, apart from like them explaining the gangs of the members of the gang-umentaries I've watched, I haven't seen too many go too in depth of I guess the entire thing collectively, and have at least 8 members that was out there doing what they're doing. Because it's bad to say, but at the same time, 8 is respectable, strictly because, like, bro, it's probably like 80, at least 80 of y'all. I'm not saying I condone any violence, but I'm curious to see
Mob, or both.
Who
as well
come
as
on
this
top of
Brick
this
Squad
with something like
069,
that?
made famous by late rapper Lil Jojo, who was seemingly close with the A-Tray Mob at the time.
A-Tray Mob, man. Say it for me, bro. On the motherfucking eye. Oh, here, say, man, we out here, man. Yeah, right, bro.
The song is ended by MTV Cash, who implies that others are trying to claim the name Bloodhound, but they are the real Bloodhounds. Also, J Boogie is in a visible role in the music video where he's often shown toting his gun with a laser beam. And at the very end of the song, someone who sounds a lot like Boogie even begins to rap a few bars before the song fades out. The Bloodhounds were at this point clearly an established group, seemingly made primarily out of members from Drill City, Chris World, 400
There's so
East,
much shit
and
going on
MTV
outside right
079.
now. I don't know
But
if
while
I
they
can
were
hear
for a
Boogie
time
just
being
this.
putting out quality music, it was clear from their raps that they were also staying very busy in the streets. Meanwhile, Lil Jeff had gotten to about high school age, still holding on to his dream of becoming a professional basketball player, with his 2017 sophomore team even seemingly winning some tournaments. Unfortunately though, it would appear that the next year his dream would come crashing down, as Jeff would not make it to his high school's varsity team. He would later talk about this during his DJU interview, saying how not making the team made him realize just how real life is, and that he had no idea what he would do after.
So all this is brand new. This is a brand new life you living, Lil Jeff, because you 21 now.
It ain't, folk.
So I wonder what you was doing at 16.
I was 16. Around that time,
You was doing the Soulja Boy
I
and
was
shit.
trying to play basketball, but that's around the time I ain't make the varsity team. So at 16 was when I was realizing this shit real. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Cause you know, after that point, it's like once you don't make that team, it's over.
It seems that this was likely the moment when Jeff's life would truly begin to take a new direction, and with his previously desired career path now falling off track, he was looking for a new future. Jeff would still graduate from high school in 2020, with his mum throwing him a fancy graduation party, but Jeff wasn't about to head to university to chase an ordinary career. Instead, it seems that he would end up following in the footsteps of his big brother, and soon he would begin showing up in the streets, raising hell with the rest of the Bloodhounds. Coming into the 2020s, J Boogie and the rest of the Bloodhounds would keep repping their new
Yeah, he hopped out
music.
He hopped off the porch with 18. Still crazy to think about. By that point, bro, come on, dog.
Such as the May 2020 music video for the song Go by Boogie, JB, and another Drill City rapper called Lil Vic, where Boogie first raps that he's only been out for 60 days but has already ran his paper back up, with this likely referring to his 2017 arrest on numerous charges, the most serious one being UUW, or unlawful use of a weapon, for which he would end up receiving a 4-year sentence. He would then mention the Bloodhounds, saying that they will come and get anyone for the right bag, all while the members would be flexing big bags of vacuum-sealed dope in the music video. JB then steps in and calls the Bloodhounds his family, while flexing a new Bloodhound chain, which is the very same design that Jeff would later rock in his own music videos. Boogie also comes back towards the end, as he compares the Bloodhounds to an army due to the wide selection of guns that they have. The Bloodhounds would also have a new rapper that would begin to drop a bunch of songs around this time too. His name was Bloodhound Z Money, real name Zaire Nelson. In fact, he's actually Lil Jeff's cousin, with some of Jeff's family members from his mother's side commonly liking and commenting on Z Money's family's social media posts. There are also old photos of Z Money
crazy
from the
how
early 2010s
connected
together with
it's
J
like-
Boogie and the
It's crazy how connected all of that shit was back then. Like, you got so many of these prominent names from that whole scene. And bro, they dead ass be like family members, cousins, brothers, like just beefing each other. Like, they all went to school with each other, etc. I really hope y'all can't hear that airplane, but if y'all can, my bad. But family members, etc. All of this. And they trying to kill each other, and they live a couple blocks away. Like, come on, dog. It's insane. But the sole fact that there's so many prominent members of these gangs who did what they did before they either got locked up or died is crazy, because it's a lot of them. And they always doing their thing, but they was too deep into it. But I find that crazy to think about.
mother of
Like, imagine niggas you went to elementary school with, middle school with, high school with, out of nowhere, y'all all dropped out trying to kill each other. That's insane work. Not to mention the people who some of them grew up with each other, like literally. So
and Boogie. In a music video by
Oh, no.
Z Money dropped in December 2020, Z Money can be seen hanging out with J Boogie, flexing big guns and stacks of cash. Unfortunately, not long before this video dropped, Boogie would get in trouble with the law once again in August 2020, when he was seemingly arrested twice on numerous charges, including possession of a stolen vehicle and once again UUW. This would once again see J Boogie doing another long bid in prison, with his projected parole date now being in 2027. Meanwhile, the new generation of Drill City, Trap City and Chris World members were also reaching adulthood. adulthood. One of these kids being the Bloodhound rapper Vert, or Rel Vert, who seemingly spent much of his childhood in these neighborhoods.
That shirt
in fact,
is...
his and his old friend's social media accounts still have
I don't know what brand
left
that is. That designer junkie junk. That's... That shirt brand is so bro. It was a decade ago, so I give him that.
His old friend's social media accounts still have plenty of pictures left from around that time period, and in these pictures, a young Vert can be seen dropping the Ys, likely once again for TYMB, whilst also throwing what seems to be either a 6 or a B hand sign, perhaps either as a homage to 66th Street, meaning Trap City or Crisworld, or for Barnum, that Drill City rep. Or the B may possibly even represent the Bloodhounds, which at this time were already a major thing amongst many of the older members from the area, who were using this very same hand sign. Now, Vert is slightly older than Jeff, and he would also begin his rap career a few years before him. For example, his music video for a song called Next Song Remix dropping in early 2019. The music video begins with Vert saying that they are posted up on the 79th, meaning Drill City's hood, before once again dropping Ys and throwing the 6 or B hand sign.
This hair is making my face itch. That's like the most annoying part of my hair getting long now. If I tie it down, it only chills right here. If I'm eating something, it'll
he
get
then begins his verse by saying how he's posted on the 9,
or just
sometimes on the 6, meaning that he hangs out in both Drill City's hood and Trap City or Criswold's hood. While it appears that Vert was mostly repping Drill City, he would also be very close with Trap City members, as can be seen from his 21st birthday vlog in 2022, where he hangs out in Trap City's hood, with this video being eerily posted exactly 2 years before Jeff's death in that very same hood. More specifically, Vert is hanging in the video near 67th and Evans, while Jeff would be killed near 67th and Rhodes, only about a 0.3 mile walk away. Vert would also explain in his early 2022 interview with Truth Teller TV that he was both Drill City and Trap City.
I'm from 67 Trap City and 79 Drill City. My name Lil Vert, man.
Meanwhile, during the late 2010s, another main rapper from the new generation of Bloodhounds, who is also a cousin of Jeff and Z-Money, Q50, was still attending high school, eventually graduating in 2022. Jeff, on the other hand, was still largely absent from any social media activity concerning Drill City or Bloodhounds coming into the 2020s, with one of his first appearances seemingly being in a late 2021 music video by Z-Money titled Gone MIA, where a 19-year-old Jeff can be seen chilling in the background while his cousin raps, while his other appearance will be soon after in a music video for his brother J Boogie and JB Bin Laden's track titled N-Words Green, where Jeff can be seen next to his big bro smoking big blunts and toting a gun with a drum magazine, showing that at this point he was already likely deep in the streets together with his brother. Coming into the 2020s, it seems that the beefs of the 06679, aka the Crisworld, Trap City and Drill City Alliance, which now included also the Bloodhound clique, were now increasingly beginning to revolve around their oldest enemies, the GD majority sets of the former Lon City, 8-Tray Mob, Evans Mob and Hit Squad, which is likely
they are right next to him. And all they alliances and assistants up here, they got a little walk to go, but having all of these right here dead behind you is crazy work. No stores, no nothing in this direction for sure. Unless they creeping out at night, I guess.
Dropping rakes for the GDs in their music videos instead of the Ys for TYMB like they had primarily done throughout the 2010s. That would have been back when the beef with TYMB was particularly hot. But still, Vert would aim his disses in his September 2020 song No Dissin' squarely at TYMB and 8-Tray Mob, saying both Die Y for TYMB and F83rd for 8-Tray Mob. However, in his November 2021 remix of Lil Durk's track Piss Me Off, he would rap how it's F the Ops and Young Money, perhaps showing that the beef with TYMB was a much more passive beef now, while the beef with 8-Tray Mob, Evans Mob and Hit Squad was much more active at this time. Some months before the release of that song, on the 1st of March 2021, a very respected 8-Tray Mob member called Clay, real name Darian Cherry, was sitting in his car in the 8-Tray Mob's hood on the 86th Street when another car pulled up next to him and somebody began firing shots from the inside. Clay received a gunshot to the mouth and was transported to the University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition. Clay would survive the shooting for the time being, but would remain in hospital fighting for his life. One member from the 8-Tray Mob who would comment on Clay's situation particularly often was a guy called Lil Crew, real name Nyreek Curtis, who was seemingly a very close friend of Clay. Crew was also an aspiring rapper who had been releasing music since at least 2017. Crew would comment on Facebook the very next day how he wasn't going to say too much, perhaps insinuating that he was going to respond by actions and not with words. However, his later post would also make it clear that Clay's situation was weighing heavily on his mind. Crew would also write about a week after Clay had been shot how they were testing their guns on stop signs because the ops weren't outside. And later, he would comment comment on how the ops had been on their high horse after Clay had been shot, even though they knew Clay had been sliding on them often. Unfortunately, Clay would eventually succumb to his injuries and pass away in May 2021. And to honor his memory, a Trey mob would begin to call their block the Clay Way. Clay's murder has never been solved, but the rumors online have placed the blame on a few different people. One of these, perhaps somewhat surprisingly, being Lil Jeff himself, with some people claiming that this information comes from a reliable source, while others would claim that Clay had in fact been killed by Vert. However, to be absolutely clear, there's seemingly no real evidence to tie either of them to this murder, although they would certainly take part in dissing Clay. There's seemingly no real evidence to tie either of them to this murder, although they would certainly take part in dissing Clay on social media, and in music, such as on Vert's song Knuck If You Buck that was released on October 2022, where Vert raps how 8-Tray Mob thought that Clay's name was ringing in the streets, but now he's irrelevant, as well as dissing another 8-Tray Mob member for allegedly getting shot and injured. Unfortunately, Vert and Drill City were soon about to experience a major loss of their own. During his teenage years, Vert had seemingly been particularly close with a guy from Drill City called Ruger, real name Jermaine Darden. Unfortunately, Ruger would be gunned down in Drill City's hood in March 2021, whilst 2 others were wounded. This would be another devastating loss for the people close to him. Q52 would pay his respects to Ruger right after his death, showing that while he might have been absent at this point from the music videos of guys like Vert, he was very much involved in the street side of things. Like Clay before him, the killing of Ruger would also become yet another unsolved murder in Chicago. However, there has certainly been some interesting posts that have come out after his death, one of these being a post from one of the cousins of Clay, who would say how he'd risked his life to get back for Clay. And then, less than a month after Ruger's death, on the 13th of April 2021, at around 7 p.m, Lil Crew would be outside of the very same 300 block of 86th Street where Clay had been shot at the beginning of March, when someone would open fire at him, striking him in the chest. Crew would then be taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, just like Clay had been, but this time, the injuries were immediately too critical, and Crew would be pronounced dead soon after arrival. Yet again, the murder of Crew would
June 16th, my birthday, June 20th.
Spaces such as Reddit, the Jeffologists themselves, who have been rumored to possess an almost otherworldly ability to see the victims of their demigod and his disciples in their crystal balls, have once again pinned this murder on Vert. Some would even claim that Vert himself had gotten shot in the leg before Crew's murder, which he references in an unreleased song. This possibly even being the same shooting where Ruger would die and 2 others would be injured, one of these 2 then possibly being Vert. Vert would also mention Crew in the song Knuck If You Buck, as well as the rapper Don Darius from 8-Tray, who was one of the early rappers for the set before he was killed in 2013, saying that he can't go out like Don D and the 8-Tray haven't got a get back for Crew and Clay, with at least the implication being that the 06679 were indeed behind the murders of both Crew and Clay. But perhaps the most telling lyrics from Vert are in a lesser known song from early 2022 titled Live or Die by the Chris World rapper Chief 2 Times, now going by the name Big Boss 2 Times, featuring Tero and RB Tasky from Trap City, as well as Vert, who raps in his verse how it's F8-Tray, before specifically mentioning both Crew and Clay, saying how he got them both lit. Yet others have claimed that Crew was in fact killed by somebody from the Woodlawn set 800, who are known for beefing with numerous sets, including both the Bloodhounds and the 8-Tray mob. However, what is once again clear is that following the murder of Crew, Vert would use many of his songs to send messages that they had in fact gotten get back for Ruger. Firstly, in the beginning of June 2021, Vert would drop a music video for his song titled Play by the Rules, where the video begins with a tribute clip of Ruger dancing to Lil Durk's song No Auto Dirk, where Dirk raps the famous line, "New op pack in the air, this gas or what?" Then, a few months later, at the end of August 2021, Vert would drop a music video for his song Drill Life, where he raps how he has to kill 10 of his ops for them to feel what he felt, with this likely being another reference to Ruger. This was followed in November with a much more direct claim in Vert's Pissed Me Off remix, with Vert rapping how they got get back for Ruger and how they lost 1, but their ops lost 4. Then, once again, at the end of December 2021, Vert would drop a music video called Gang, together with JB and a rapper called Lil Cap, where they can be seen with a cutout of Ruger, while Vert begins the song by rapping how they cried for Ruger but also slid for him, and that the score is not even, with him implying that they are doing so much damage that their ops are claiming that 06679 is cheating. The dissing would continue in 2022 when Vert would release the music video for his song titled Simply.
That's
the dissing would continue doing so much
work.
damage that their ops are claiming that 06679 is cheating.
Cheating is crazy work. They had to have been doing Bro, they had to have been doing like insane shit to the dog. They had to have been dropping them left, right to be saying you cheating. Like, if somebody said you cheating when it comes to
The dissing would continue in 2022 when Vert would release the music video for his song titled
Whatever you're doing it right.
Where Vert first repeats
that's not a good
how
thing.
someone was dissing on their raps, but now they can't speak, with this being a possible reference to Crew, before then continuing to pay tribute to Ruger, saying that he's pulling up on his ops block and making them run. And the references to Ruger would just keep coming, with Vert then releasing a music video for his song 21 in June 2022, with this being the music video that they had been filming in Trap City's hood during the celebration for Vert's 21st birthday. In the song, Vert once again mentions how he cried after Ruger's death, but that he had then wiped his tears and gone to sliding, and saying how it's been back-to-back homicides ever since. At this point, it was clear that no matter who had been behind these murders, the war around the east side was getting very heated, and unfortunately, the war wouldn't only continue between the established alliances, such as 8-Tray, Evans, and Hit Squad versus the Drill City, Trap City, Chris World, and the Bloodhounds, but it would eventually morph into a deadly civil war within the 06679 alliance.
Oh yeah. Didn't they backdoor? They backdoor, so I think they backdoor Boogie.
In late 2022, the time would finally come when Lil Jeff, or Bloodhound Lil Jeff, as his artist name would be, begun his rap career, dropping his first song and music video titled The Bloody Family, together with JB Bin Laden, with the name of the song being an obvious reference to his gang in the streets, the Bloodhounds. In his DJU interview, Jeff would attribute the beginning of his music career to Vert, who had encouraged him to start rapping. This part of the interview coinciding with Jeff's right-hand man Q50 dropping off some prescription pain medication with a doctor-like focus and precision, showing that while Jeff would later earn the nickname the Pistol Professor, it was Q50 who was truly the Pill Professor. The track Bloody Family would be followed about a month later with Jeff's first solo song titled Can't Beat Us. In these songs, a babyface Jeff raps with a monotone delivery, lacking the high-pitched Joker-style voice that would later become his trademark. And this version of Jeff almost looks like a different person from the charismatic neck-tattooed demon that he would later appear as in his music videos, walking around his hood like he owned the place. Nevertheless, since the beginning,
why he
Jeff
just
was
randomly
rapping
started gassing Jeff like
walking around from the charismatic neck-tattooed demon that he would later appear as in his music videos, walking around his hood like he owned the place. Nevertheless, since the beginning, Jeff was rapping like he was really, truly about that life.
Crazy
ending
word.
The song Can't Beat Us with an outro monologue where he repeats twice how he's really not a rapper, whilst insinuating that he's actually a killer who just raps because that's what the fans want to see. This was followed in late November with the first collab between Jeff and Vert, a song and music video titled I Love My Draco. And the music video begins with a clip showing a masked up Jeff in traffic, contributing to the image that Jeff and the other young bloodhounds were actively sliding in the streets in between dropping their songs. This would also be the first video where Jeff would begin to showcase the more high-pitched voice that would later become his trademark, with him giving a little monologue mid-song dissing his ops, particularly TYMB. Jeff would then begin rapping how his mum prays every day that he makes it back home, but he tells her that he's okay because he's the one doing all the killing, before flipping the script Lil Durk style as he announces how this is all fake and just a song, the insinuation of course being that this is really not just a song. The music video then ends with a scene of JB, Jeff, and Vert calling J Boogie in prison.
Free them boys, we them boys, man. These folks on the way.
Free J Boogie, man.
Free J Boogie to campaign.
Free Boogie, man.
But coming into 2023, Jeff would keep dropping new music with videos like the song N-Words B12 on March the 23rd, as well as the song Big 3 on April the 3rd, together with Q50 and another Bloodhound rapper, Slimito. In both music videos, Jeff can be seen surrounded by the Bloodhounds, including this time also his cousin Z Money, who is now playing the role of background character whilst giving Jeff all the limelight, as he once again continues to portray his image of a killer, insinuating on N-Words B12 how he'll see people that he's killed in hell. Unfortunately, as these music videos dropped, a tragedy had already stricken Jeff and the Bloodhounds that would completely change the alliances in the area, and ultimately cause the downfall of Lil Jeff. A few years before, in 2020, a bunch of rappers from the 0679 alliance of Trap City and Drill City, including RB Tasky, Lil Cap, Vert, and Mooka, will drop a music video for their song titled On Fire. The music video, which was filmed and released by AMF Visuals, who would eventually also become Lil Jeff's manager, is now interestingly unlisted. The music video begins with one of the most random cameos in perhaps all of drill history, with the camera showing King Von's sister, Kayla B, and the late Texas rapper Enchanting, who would sadly pass away in 2024, with both of them hanging out in Trap City's hood. The video also shows guys like Vert hanging out in Trap City, like on the corner of 66th Street, aka Marquette Road, and Rhodes Avenue, while the rapper Mooka raps cracks a bar about how the alliance between Trap City or Crisworld and Drill City would never divide. Indeed, coming into 2023, the alliance between Drill City, Trap City, and Crisworld, aka 06679, had lasted for over a decade, with these sets seemingly never having any larger qualms during this period. Unfortunately, in 2023, this alliance would finally come crashing down, with one murder shrouded in mystery changing the relationship between these sets irreversibly. On the 7th of February 2023, JB Bin Laden would tweet a cryptic message saying how tables turn, bridges burn, but it is what it is. JB's tweet really could have been about just anything, but what would happen only a month later would certainly make this tweet seem ominous in hindsight, as on the 16th of March 2023, at about 2 p.m, Jeff's cousin Z Money, aka Zaire Nelson, was sitting in his car on the 1300 block of East 79th Street near the intersection of 79th and Kimbark. This location being in the Avalon Park neighborhood, about 0.6 miles east from the main intersection of the Bloodhounds on 79th and Maryland, which is in the Chatham neighborhood. There, another vehicle would reportedly approach Z Money's car in a parking lot of a dry cleaners. Someone from inside that car began opening fire at Z Money multiple times. Z Money would be taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where he would unfortunately be pronounced dead.
Dry cleaners is
crime
tough.
chasers would later arrive at the scene.
See, that's like, bro, that's so crazy. With all these gangs that's beefing like real heavy with each other, they're right next to each other, so they use all the same shit. Like if you don't got a washer, for example, y'all all going to the same laundromat because it's probably the closest thing to both of y'all. Same thing with grocery stores, jobs, just getting some food. Like it's really crazy. All that it's just you're in danger going there now. Cause you got 3, 4, 5 other sets in the area doing the same thing. Probably tripping.
To film the aftermath of the shooting,
Crazy to think
the police
about.
combing through the scene with numerous shell markers left on the ground. In the comments of the video, Q50's mum would react to the footage, clearly personally affected by the death of Z Money, and the loss of Z Money would be a huge blow for the Bloodhounds, particularly Jeff, as his cousin had likely been like a brother to him in the streets ever since his real brother Boogie had gone to prison. To pay tribute to him, both Jeff and Q50 would get Z Money.
So that's who I didn't mean to say J
well
Boogie. I meant to say Z Money earlier when I was talking about
aka their
who
trigger
they.
fingers.
I thought I got back there, but I don't think that was them. Probably anyway. If it was, I'll see later.
In December 2023,
I
a
said some
non-profit
bullshit.
journalism project called The Trace, which investigates gun violence in America, would actually write a story about Z Money, aka Zaire, and in the piece, they would interview his mother. In this truly heartbreaking piece of journalism, the mother explains how Z Money had been dropped off at the hospital, but according to a doctor, he had been dead on arrival, having been shot over 29 times. The mother would also reveal that Z Money had been waiting for his friend in the park.
They didn't Swiss cheese, bro. That's unfortunate. I ain't gonna lie. I can imagine.
Who had gone to drop off some clothes at the dry cleaners to be tailored, and when the shooters appeared, this made Z Money attempt to run away, but ultimately getting caught by the hail of bullets, with it also being explained that his friend had then arrived and returned fire before fleeing the scene, and that friend was later not willing to speak to the police in fear of getting in trouble with them himself for using his gun. Unsurprisingly, Z Money's murder would once again go unsolved by the Chicago Police Department, leaving his mother even more traumatized, with her explaining in the article that she was tortured by the idea that she might just be walking the streets amongst her son's killer in the local community. The mother's fear was indeed legitimate because, as the rumor goes now, Z Money was allegedly killed by people who were very close to him, more specifically
Never mind, it was
by
when I
his
got back
old
there.
friends
No,
from
yeah,
City
it was
who
somebody for
allegedly
them, but it was
backdoored
him.
Z Money. At the time of the shooting, Z Money's death would be posted in Reddit's drill community Chiracology, but the speculation about the reasons behind his death would only truly begin after Lil Jeff began making noise in the drill scene, with some claiming that the killing was actually all the result of a girl and a stolen gun, while others completely denied that any backdoor situation or setup had even taken place. However, the case would seemingly get some clarity in July 2024 when members of Trap City, including Trap City Rob, Vert's former good friend Tero, who's also a rapper, and OTF Black, who's actually a friend of Lil Durk and a Trap City OG, would give an interview to the Chicago YouTuber X-Man Rico, where they would insinuate that the relationship between Trap City and Drill City had actually gone sour over a stolen chain.
Cause the way Reddit, this is why I want the club too. They say his dad from down here, Big J or something like that. Big J.
Anybody you got?
Also, his daddy is from down here.
Yeah, fuck used to hang with them. They know what they did.
So, okay.
They know what they did.
So, okay, the Bloodhounds, y'all was cool.
Everybody that got a
That was my homie. He stole the chain, bro. We tried like he took it. He stole my own chain.
Was that South J?
Nah, brother. One of the other guys. This one of the other. This other one. Folks letting him wear the J. He come back like he got into a high speed with 12. Line saying he lost it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's how my they look. You know?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
You know Jake Boogie, like
Jake
like
Boogie.
under us. That's like shorty. Like I was in the field and this did. Like this looks your brother like on that.
I don't know how this gonna play out.
They say he ain't claiming the hood still.
But he Trap City.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
like,
from.
That's all weird, bro.
And you over Saturday night blood, like you can't.
But we already know Trap City and Drill City was the same. Bucky and Water, like that's our family.
Yeah.
So that chain incident really split it up? Or was it something else before then?
It was a chain, really.
Chain,
It was a chain, man. They tried to steal a chain. He ain't take it. No, I ain't trying to limit his image. You know what I'm saying? He did
I
not
just
take
feel like
that chain, bro.
when it came to like when you on some real, because you know we don't just move on situations. So we just feel like a lot of feel like it was just some dumb chain on myself.
They looking around, and I'm looking around with them. That's crazy work. Whole time they looking. Every time their eyes go somewhere, I'm sitting here looking at the side screen like, hold on, what they ain't looking at. Same thing over here. Like, that's
From our
how we
hood,
do.
being friendly, let them away your chain. Who does that?
We may never know exactly what took place, but what does seem clear is that following Z-Money's death, the Bloodhounds would cut all ties to their old friends around Trap City and Chris World. And as Jeff would rap in his feature on another Bloodhound rapper Hothead's aka Tank Montana's song Still Walking, released in November 2023, losing his cousin would also make him lose his mind, with Jeff's focus from that point onwards seemingly being one
Z-Money died, then I lost it. You gotta get back. That shit was awesome. Got a real close up. My man, he in a car.
thing and one thing alone.
Crazy
Get back
word.
that he would allegedly get during the summer of 2023.
This is a really good ass part to end this shit on. I ain't gonna lie, that is like the perfect segment. This is one black to just pause it and then come back and we'll get back to that. Oh, shoulders looking actually kind of nice. But anywho, with that being said, 40 minutes in, part 2 is here. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned, like, comment, if whatever you want to see. I get to it. That's fun to do. I was skinny before, so now that I can flex and shit and look big. It's fun as fuck.